now it's time to check in with CoinDesk Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who's also the editor of CoinDesk's absolutely positively must-read State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning.
Good morning. And, I've got to, listen, the Freedom of Information Law request that CoinDesk filed 100 years ago, it seems, on Tether's banking relationships and just kind of what's backing its assets. The documents were released. Tell us what it tells everyone.
Yeah, so first off, some background. This is a state freedom of information law request that we filed in New York 2 years ago, just about, basically asking for any documents that can talk about Tether's reserves. And Tether, for a while, filed to try and block that release. They lost in February. They had an opportunity to appeal. They chose not to go through with the appeal, and so the documents were released to us last Thursday. We found out about it. We got an email sometime in the morning, and then I walk out of court and discover everyone knows about it because there was a statement put out. It was interesting. The documents themselves share a little bit of insight into Tether's backing as of 2021. So it is important to note that these documents are not recent. They are from 2 years ago, but they tell us that in 2021, especially around March 2021, Tether had a handful of banks. They had commercial paper and other securities issued by a number of financial institutions from around the world, but mostly China. But you had documents, securities issued by banks in Qatar and a handful of other nations as well. These appear to, be the reserves, the assets that were backing USDT. And this is, of course, in the background or in the wake of the company settling with the New York State Attorney General's office over that long-standing inquiry into whether or not USDT was unbacked or not fully backed for a while after losing access to a payment provider.
Yeah, they had made a big stink about not revealing whether or not their commercial paper was based in China, and I think this kind of proves that it was, right? That's the first thing. The second thing has to do with the timing of the release of the documents itself. Before that happened, there was, it seemed, an attack on Tether, if you will, in the DeFi markets. Tether seems to think that a leak came out of CoinDesk. God knows CoinDesk isn't that, I don't know. Like, can you talk a little bit about the timing with it? Because it just, it seems to be something of concern, if you will, that somebody may have heard something about this. And did CoinDesk hear about it before or after the attack on Tether?
So we heard from CoinDesk's lawyers earlier in the week that these documents may be released at some point, that week. We didn't have a specific timeline. We didn't know when exactly that would happen. I'm going to be honest. I didn't even know about the, depegging issue on Curve and I think Uniswap until after I got out of court that morning. I was covering Sam Bankman-Fried's motion to dismiss hearing, so I did not have any internet access. So the timeline from my perspective is such, early in the week, we find out these documents may be coming at some point. This is, not something we weren't expecting at that point, but we weren't sure if we were getting anything or what we were getting. So I don't think we shared it even internally. It was me, a couple of senior management who was involved with communicating with lawyers. We had it, but yeah, like we didn't really tell anyone. Seeing is believing and all that. On Thursday morning, we get an email saying, okay, the documents have been actually released. The New York Attorney General's FOIL officer sent them to our attorneys at around 8 a.m. on Thursday. That's 8 a.m. Eastern. My understanding is that the depegging started or happened around 2 a.m. Eastern, maybe a little earlier, give or take. And that's just based on, reviewing the articles that we covered after seeing, after coming out of everything. So I don't think it's, there's no chance, obviously no one at CoinDesk would try and depeg a stablecoin because of documents or anything. But A, I don't think most people at CoinDesk even knew and couldn't tell anyone. And B, obviously, no one who was involved would tell anyone. So, yeah, I don't really know what to make of that particular claim or insinuation.
Lots of places could have leaked, and not just at CoinDesk. We have the New York AG, we have Tether itself, we have Tether's customers, clients, and other people. So, interesting.
Nick, thanks for joining us this morning. Always wonderful unpacking your reporting. That was CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor, Nick Day. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.